Hi there guys, welcome to this video. Today we're gonna talk about the 3x7 or 21. It depends, some people call it the 3-7, others call it the 21. So this is basically this famous exercise for biceps where you start at the bottom, you go to the middle, you do this 7 times, then you do seven reps just at the top of the movement, and then you do 7 the full range of motion, the full movement. So I'm gonna discuss this today because this is someone from the channel that commented and asked me what I was thinking basically about this method, this exercise. And I think it's perfect because I've just talked in my last video about certain concepts that I think are pretty dangerous in the industry. Things that are pretty, gimmicks basically, or exercise that are named in the industry to look pretty cool. And I think that the 3x7 kind of falls into this category. So I will explain basically what I think are the bad things about this exercise and what could potentially be the good things. But overall, my opinion about this exercise is pretty negative. So I hope you're gonna stay because I think it's a pretty important video and it will be very useful if you want to grow bigger biceps and you want to have some information about how to do this and what basically to avoid. So before we start the video, make sure you leave a like or to subscribe to the channel, and I will give more videos like this. Almost every day I'm trying to make videos where I can give a lot of value in a pretty short amount of time, and other times I do much longer videos where we go in details about how you can improve basically in your bodybuilding journey as a natural bodybuilder. So I think I have a lot of thoughts about the 3x7. I have more bad thoughts than good thoughts. So I apologize, obviously, if this was something the person was expecting, maybe something positive about this exercise, and maybe most people think something positive about this exercise or this method. But in my opinion, I have more bad than good. So we're gonna start with the bad things, and then at the end I will try to give you why it could be used, what could be the interesting things to use this exercise. So we're gonna start with the first issue that I see. And the first issue that I see with this exercise is that it's usually an exercise. First, they will be done with the standing curl bar exercise. So you do the 3x7 usually standing up with a curl bar. And so first, this exercise I think is not the best for biceps because it doesn't allow you to stretch the biceps as much as possible. I don't think it's a bad exercise fully because you can use it to gain overall strength, and I think you will still obviously add strength to your biceps. You can do some cheat curls as well with this exercise, and if you cheat pretty well, that you know how to cheat without really hurting yourself, you can get more reps in. And I think the standing curl exercise is not such a bad exercise, but I don't think it's the best to grow your biceps or to isolate them. First, I think that I've only always seen most of the time the 3x7 made on this exercise. So I think just for this first reason, it's not particularly a great method because it's not done on an exercise that I think is the best for you to grow your biceps. The second main issue that I see with the 3x7 is that I don't really see the point of stopping in the movement and to make it basically become a static exercise. So it's not fully a static exercise, obviously, like you would do with doing the plank for abdominals. But still you're stopping in the middle, and so you're not using your full stretch potential. So I don't really see the point of like stopping in the middle. There might be a few things that we'll discuss later that could have an interest in stopping in the middle, but otherwise I think that doing the whole movement will offer a better stretch, and I don't really see the point of stopping in the middle. It becomes then more of a static exercise, which I think is not the best because if you want to grow, you have to stretch the muscle while you're using the weights. That's the main point. If you're not stretching, you're not using an exercise that stretches, then you're not really gonna grow. This is why most of the time we always tell people to go full range of motion, although not all the time because it depends from people to people and their body morphology. Sometimes it's more of an advantage to use maybe shorter range of motions, but if you can do it fully and you have no problem with it, I don't see any problem of using full range of motions if this full range of motion is really targeting the muscle that you want to target, and that, for example, you don't want to target just partially the muscle. Like if you do pull-ups, sometimes people, they want to stop at the middle of the pull-up movement because they just want to involve really the external lats. But if there is no reason and you just want to really work out your biceps, I don't really see the point. And so you want to stretch it fully if you have no issues and no reason not to fully stretch the muscle while you're working it out. So the only potential interest that I could see in stopping in the middle would be for the upper movement of the 3x7. I don't really see a point when you're in the lower range of the movement where you stop in the middle starting from the bottom, but at least maybe when you're starting from the top and you're going down and stopping in the middle, I could see some interest in terms of building up strength or building a part of the movement where you basically struggle to pass. So for example, if we're talking about deadlift, some people, they do rack pulls. They do rack pulls, and maybe that can help them, when they do deadlift, to pass at this middle of in the middle of the movement when they struggle, to actually get stronger there, or just simply to target the upper movement of a deadlift without the legs. So I could see an interest of maybe the top movement when you go down from here to the middle, in terms of maybe some sort of strength, or helping you, if you're a strong man, for example, help you gain strength, help you maybe also, it probably helps with your abdominals. When you stop in the middle of the movement, it's going to be a lot of work for your abdominals to also maintain. It's going to be also probably your shoulders, have some good static strength in your shoulders when you're going down like this and you're stopping in the middle. So obviously, you might see some interest in people that do strongman, for example, into doing this sort of like static movements where you have to retain the weight as it goes down. But the bottom range of the movement, I don't really see the point in stopping in the middle and then going down. So I don't really see muscle-wise an interest into doing this. The third issue that I see with this exercise, the 3x7, is that it's usually seen as a pump exercise. So I've just talked about it in another video, the video before, and that's why I think making this video was a good thing. At the same time, I made the other one of, a boring routine is exciting and an exciting routine is boring, because I think that the 3x7 really illustrates what I was talking about when I was talking in the last video about an exciting routine that becomes boring, is that you're trying to use methods basically that are usually renamed or that sound pretty cool, that are invented, but in the end, because they're not made in a structured program and that people just use it like this to have a pump, then they don't use measurements and they don't progress with it. And I think this exercise really falls into that. So I think the 3x7 might not be a super bad method. This is, if it's used in a structured way and that you measure things that you do with it, but most of the time people that use it, they just want to have fun and have pump, and they don't even really look at the weights they're using when they're doing the 3x7. And so they just, do the 3x7 and then they have a pump, and they don't, if the next time I see them a week later, I ask them also how much weight did you use when you did the 3x7, they won't be able to answer because they just did it for some fun, which is the issue I have with it. It's a pumpy exercise. It's not an exercise that is usually used in a structured way to really improve. It's just an exercise to have some fun and have some pump. And as I said in other videos, pump doesn't equal progression. Pump should be a result of the exercises that you do, but it shouldn't be your main goal to have a pump, because it's easy to have a pump. There is no scale of progression with a pump. You can't say I've got a good pump today and I'm gonna try to have a better pump next time. At some point there is a limit. It's not measure. You can't measure it with weights. At least you can measure. You can say this year I'm doing 40 kg curls, with a bar, and next year I'm doing 60 kg. Here you can measure. You can't say my pump is 30% better than last year. Like, a pump is just a pump and you can't really improve it. So you shouldn't focus on the pump. So if you ever want to use the 3x7 because you really like it and you still like the pump that it gives you, it always has to be really used in a way that you measure things, which I'll talk to you about later. So the 3x7 to me is a pretty dangerous concept, not because the exercise is dangerous, but because it reminds me of the industry most of the time, trying to sell stuff that are interesting, that look cool, that look renamed, that are fancy basically, but that are not the basics and the most important about where you should focus when you do an exercise. The 3x7 reminds me of all these newbies that I see sometimes in the gym. They use the exercise and unfortunately they don't really try to measure what they're doing with the 3x7. They're not trying to measure the weight, and they just heard someone on gear on the internet basically tell them that it gives them great results, and then obviously they're tempting to use it, and it gives a good pump. So it gives the sensation that you're actually doing a great exercise that will bring results. But as I said, the pump is not something that really brings you results. It's not the thing you should focus on. So that's a mistake, because the 3x7 gives a great pump, it gives a great pump just because basically it's high reps. 3x7 is pretty high reps. You do more than 20 reps when you do it and you stop in the middle of the movement. So obviously you're maintaining some weights for a long period of time. It's going to give you a good pump, but it's not particularly going to give you results. And so that's an issue because it's very famous amongst people, but not for the good reasons. Now, I'm not saying obviously that the person that asked the question falls in this category, because the 3x7 could well be used by advanced people just because they really like it regardless. But that's what I'm going to talk right now about. How to use the 3x7, why it could be beneficial. We're going to talk basically about the pros of the 3x7, although I don't think there are many, there could still be some. And so we're going to talk about this now. So why could you use the 3x7 exercise? Well, I think that you could use it because simply if it's something that you use to progress. So first of all, I think that each exercise that you use should obviously be measured. I think that when you do an exercise with a certain weight, you have to know how many reps you do and how many sets you're gonna do with it. And then over time, your goal is obviously to get better at this exercise, so to do more reps than you could do and then increase the weight basically. So there has to be progression. So if you use the 3x7, you can't just go to the gym and think, okay, I'm gonna use it with a random bar that I don't really look at, that I don't even know what it is. You have to look basically at what you're using and you have to measure things. So if you're gonna use the 3x7, which is usually an exercise that people use just to have fun and that they don't measure things with, you're gonna have to use this exercise and measure things. You're gonna have to measure the 3x7 that you do. You can't just obviously use a random thing. And that's also usually the issue, I think, with the 3x7 is that obviously if you progress with it, usually it's not really thanks to the 3x7 exercise that you do, but most likely by the other basic important exercise that you do on biceps. So you gain strength, for example, on your main exercises, biceps exercises, and this strength that you gain basically transfers to everything else that you do for biceps. So usually, I guess people will use the 3x7 and they might give, credit to this exercise that they do at the end of the workout for growing their biceps. But really, they're just gaining strength overall thanks to other exercises that are more efficient for the biceps. So you shouldn't also fall for this trap. And this brings me to say that if I'm gonna do the 3x7, I'm never gonna do it as a first exercise, because the 3x7 is 21 reps, basically. That's basically what it means. And usually, if I'm someone that likes to do strength work, whether it's for chest or big muscles, but also smaller muscle, I think it's important to go heavy to get stronger quicker. And so the 3x7 is not really falling in that, because you do 7 reps, then 7 reps, then 7 reps without really stopping. So it's pretty much an issue because you're never gonna be able to use, just a very heavy weight where you can only do 6 reps with it, for example. If you're able to do 21 reps, it means that you're using, it's a pumpy exercise basically. The 3x7, as I said, is a pumpy exercise because it's interesting, but I think at the end, because at first you should obviously prioritize strength work, and then at the end do more hypertrophy so it doesn't ruin your strength work. So you can't use it as a first exercise, the 3x7. You have to use it at the end once you've done your strength work and that you're very fresh. So that's the thing as well. You can't use the 3x7 as a first exercise. I don't think it's a good idea. Even if you measure things, which is better than nothing, I would still use this as a last exercise if you're gonna do it, and prioritize going heavy, on some basic good exercise for biceps like pull-ups, these kind of exercises. But I wouldn't basically go with the 3x7 as a first exercise. You're gonna have to use it for your hypertrophy work. And then the last reason to use it is that obviously it's a good pumpy exercise. So if you like having a good pump, you can use it. Although, as I said, the pump shouldn't be something that you should focus on. It should come as a result of your training, of your structured training. And when you do your hypertrophy work, you're gonna have a good pump. But if you really like the way it is, that you really like the movement, you like stopping in the middle because, I don't know, it makes you feel alive, then obviously that's a good reason to do it. You just have to use it in the right way. Like I said, don't use it as a first exercise. I don't think it's the best thing that you could do. And you should use it for your hypertrophy work, and you should measure it. So you should obviously know how much reps you're doing with it, and next time try to beat it basically. So take your notes or put it on your phone, but always try to measure things. So personally, I will never really use the 3x7, or maybe just one day for fun, but I will never really use it as a way of, to measure things and to progress in the long run. I think there are better exercises first for that, to improve on your biceps. and so I won't use it. And also, to me, reinforces, as I said, the things that are pretty bad in the industry, that, you know, people naming this exercise, basically making a new exercise, and that basically then it becomes more of a gimmick and something that, you know, people want to use in the gym to have fun, but not really to measure and to think about progression. So I don't think it would be good for me to basically advise this exercise to people. Although, as I said, you know, you can use it if you want, as long as you know that why you're using it, and as long as you're doing things in a way that you can measure, then you can advise it to other people. I think also if you tell them that, but just advising this exercise because it has a good pump, I think is a pretty bad idea. Perhaps this exercise could be a little interesting for reasons that I'm not maybe an expert in, like gaining strength, you know, stopping in the middle of the movement, things to help you in strongman, for example, this type of things, or to work on more profound muscles by, you know, holding a weight at a certain weight and, you know, build resistance. There could be some interest, but I think that most of the time this exercise, if you don't really understand what's behind it, is pretty dangerous because obviously you're gonna use something that is, as I said, just here for the pump, and that doesn't offer clear progress. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. It's finished. Leave a like and subscribe. It's important for me, and I think that I will be able to reach more people and give this sort of advice, which is a good thing. So don't hesitate to subscribe. Leave a comment if you want me to answer another question.